All right, I just kind of wanted to get an idea of how this family tradition started for Thanksgiving and how long we've been doing it and all that stuff. Can you talk about that?
Sure. Well, my first recollections of Thanksgiving when I was quite young, and I can't really tell you how old, but I'm guessing maybe 4 or 5 years old. My mom and dad, Melvin and Lavelle Andelin, and I'm the youngest of 4 children. My 3 oldest siblings are my sisters. And anyway, our family would go up to my dad's brother's house. He had a really fun, neat house that he built up in the Topanga Canyon. It was up in the mountains and in quite a rural area. And we'd go up there for Thanksgiving every year, and that was just the most incredible experience for me as a kid, and I think my sisters too have the same fond memories. And probably the most memorable Thanksgiving going up to my Uncle Harry's was, he lived, as I said, up in the mountains on the hillside, lots of rocks and cactus and things, as Southern California is known for. And that I had heard my sisters saying that you could eat these little red cactus apples on the cactus plants, and so I picked one off and started to eat it and didn't realize that they're all full of, stickery, cactus thorns or whatever. So all over the roof of my mouth were all these little thorns, and I remember I think my sisters thought it was great fun, to trick me into doing that. But anyway, for part of my Thanksgiving, my parents sat there with tweezers trying to pull those out of the roof of my mouth. But we had a great time as a family. We're not the only ones that went there. All of my dad's siblings and their kids would also gather there. So those that were in California or made the effort to come. So it was a great tradition that was started long ago. Like I say, as early as my memories can recall. And from there, as my our family began to grow. And my sisters, with their spouses and children, it became, and my aunt and uncle moved away from there, moved to Palm Springs, and so we began to have our own Thanksgiving. My mom and dad, Melvin and Lavelle, and the 4 of us children and our children began our own tradition of meeting together. And we met at Linda's up in Felton one year. We've had Thanksgiving at a number of our homes, and Doris and I had moved to St. George in 1974, and a couple of years later we had opened a restaurant. And so that was the beginning of having all of the Andelins from my mom and dad, and they were alive at this time. They started the tradition of coming to St. George for Thanksgiving, and that was every year. We did that for a number of years, and then as our children grew and got married and began to have children, they needed to go to their spouses' homes, and so we, a few years back, decided that we would come here in St. George and gather for Thanksgiving every other year. We did this in the restaurant for probably 25 years, and then the restaurant, we retired from that business in the year 2000, and from that point on we've had to find other places to meet in St. George on our year where we'd gather. One year we met here in where we're this year, and that's in our chapel here in St. George. And then last year, or 2 years ago I should say, I guess it was the first time that we met in the chapel, and then this time we met at the Ramada in their room there and had Thanksgiving. And it's always been just a grand time, and it's been a lot of fun. And when we had the restaurant, it was certainly a lot easier because we had the facility to cook the food and hold it, and everything that was needed was right there, readily available. Now it's a little bit more difficult gathering everything together and making assignments and keeping the food hot, but that's all part of the fun. A lot of our family just enjoy cooking and spending the time, cooking the food and visiting, and that's always been probably one of my favorite things. And I think also my sisters as well have really enjoyed that part of Thanksgiving, cooking the food. And the food that we cook is basically the same every year, and that I think the recipes just kind of evolved from many Thanksgivings ago, and we haven't really altered the menu much, but they're family recipes and things that have been part of our Thanksgiving celebration for many years, so we've just kind of stuck with that. introduced a few new things here and there, but it's basically the same. My own personal feelings about Thanksgiving is they're sweet and tender to me, because they're the times that we all can gather as a family, and it's very difficult for all of us to get together at any one time. And so when we meet, it's interesting to see how all of the children have grown, and a couple of years puts a lot of difference on little toddlers, as you can imagine, and little kids growing up. So it's always exciting to see the changes, and we usually will have a talent show, and that also is a highlight to watch these little kids perform, and to have anybody who's, you know, willing to get up and make a fool of themselves anyway. It's always been a part of the talent show, which has been a lot of fun. And those are some of my fondest memories of Thanksgiving, and this is the year 2005. What is it, November 24th today?
Yeah.
And, or 25th, I guess, because this is the day after Thanksgiving, where we're meeting here in our cultural hall, having our talent show, and the kids like to play basketball, and the adults like to visit. And so this is always a part of our Thanksgiving celebration, is on Friday evening getting together as well. And so we've really enjoyed having Thanksgiving here in St. George. We feel pretty privileged. My sister Kay, her husband Bob, and many of her children, as well as some of my children, live in St. George. And so that's made it nice for a lot of our family that have been here to be hosts for the rest of the family who have to travel a distance.
So to you, what do you think Thanksgiving should mean or does mean to the Andelin family?
Well, hopefully, you know, I think the overarching feeling of love for family and our ancestors, I think, is a big part of it. Obviously, you know, we want to be thankful for the fact that we're celebrating the things that we are grateful for, and of course, I think the thing we're most grateful for is our ancestors and what they sacrificed for us, and what they've given us, and which is the gospel of Jesus Christ. And I think that's the strong bond in our family, and we look forward to sharing those feelings. And I would say that that's what Thanksgiving means to me, is to be able to renew the love that we have for family. And the tradition of meeting together at Thanksgiving is like our family reunion, since we don't really have a family reunion, our Andelin family. And so this has been what we would consider a family reunion. I love getting together as a family, and being able to visit and talk about our lives, because we're so spread out. It's wonderful, a great opportunity to kind of renew and get caught up on all the happenings of our children and grandchildren.
So if you could give a message to the next 2 years, the people that come in 2 years to gather for Thanksgiving, what would be the message that you would give to them?
Well, the message that I'd like to give them in 2 years from now.
Yes.
So you're going to play this recording, and they're going to hear what my message is.
That's right.
Well, hopefully that we're all healthy and strong, and that our children are safe and protected. The message that, you know, that's strongest in my heart, of course, is that we love one another, respect one another, and that we develop these strong feelings of love for our heritage and for our posterity and future generations. This is such an important, you know, aspect of family, is to be able to have the opportunity to strengthen our bonds and to make this Thanksgiving experience a real, you know, bonding experience where we feel the strength and support of our family. I think that's a real wonderful thing, to know that we are a family, that we're loved, and that we're part of a family that will always support one another. We'll pray and fast for one another when needed, and I think that's just a wonderful thing that I hope that we'll always keep in the family. We've done this, and I think it's the thing that ties us together. My love for the gospel is shared with our family, and I think that my message, of course, is that we will learn to love the Savior more fully and understand His life and what He wants for us, and that's to be happy and to receive a fullness of joy. And there is a way to do that. And the Lord spelled it out. It's a straight and narrow path. And so the support that we feel as a family will help us to hold to that word and be faithful and to be able to achieve happiness in the life after as a family, to be together for eternity. And I hope that we'll do everything that will lead us in that direction and ultimately be able to enjoy what we enjoy now forever.